My guest at this time is Victoria Toensing. She's a former federal prosecutor and a former deputy assistant attorney general. She joins me now to offer her reaction to Bob Mueller, the special prosecutor and former FBI director, lodging a 7-count indictment against Trump associate Roger Stone. 1 count of obstruction, 1 count of witness tampering, and 5 counts of making false statements. The FBI arresting him in a pre-dawn raid, and he was in court in Fort Lauderdale later on Friday morning. So, Victoria, thanks so much for your time today.
Sure, Greg.
Well, Roger Stone had said previously that he expects to be indicted. I would assume that you've had quite a bit of time to go through the explanation here and the paperwork. On the one hand, here's another set of indictments that are more process crimes and nothing related to Russia collusion allegations and so forth. At the same time, if you read through these things, it appears that he was allegedly, at least, in contact with someone in the Trump campaign about his contacts through an intermediary with WikiLeaks. So what's the big takeaway here?
Well, first, let me just say, I don't know the facts of the indictment. I mean, I know what the indictment says, but I don't know what the evidence is behind it.
Right.
As every good lawyer should say. But the Mueller conduct was despicable in going in dawn hours, 6 o'clock, and arresting him with, 200,000 agents and 5 million police cars. That's not done. That is so corrupt. That is reserved for terrorists and drug dealers who are going to flee if they know that they're going to be arrested or if they're going to be indicted. This is not done for a process kind of crime, and I am so offended as a former Justice Department person, and I'm now saying today, where was Chris Wray? Where was Matt Whittaker? How could they have allowed this? And they couldn't have had an attendant search warrant because you can't get more evidence against a person after you've indicted them. You can't use a grand jury or, search warrant to get evidence. So it was just for the arrest. It is so vindictive. This is how, and let's say it, Republicans, conservatives are treated. Whereas people like Cheryl Mills, who a federal judge the other day said was clear that she had committed perjury, they get immunity. Something's got to stop.
Why do you think that was the tactic involved? Was it to intimidate Stone, or was it to have this national image of this happening, maybe a message to other people involved in the investigation?
Well, I think it's a mixture. These are corrupt prosecutors. Andrew Weissman a federal court has accused him of keeping exculpatory information from the defendants. I mean, he uses these tactics. This is true Andrew Weissman. As I could describe him, he catches someone walking across the street not in the crosswalk. He then tells them that they've been jaywalking, that he's going to throw a felony at them, unless, and listen to this, Republican, you're going to have to go to trial in front of a D.C. jury.
Yeah, explain that a little more, because some of our listeners get that and some don't.
Okay, well, I was just about ready to say, that's my client, Scooter Libby, who we got a pardon for. But that's what happened to Scooter. And people on the jury were 100% Democrats. Maybe one was an independent. And they came out saying, well, we wanted to get Cheney. And that's what this whole process is about. It's trying to squeeze somebody to make up evidence or testimony about Donald Trump or one of the Trump family. I'm embarrassed for my former home, the Justice Department, and I'm appalled that this is the way. I don't know. I mean, you've talked to me a lot of times. You don't hear me this emotional.
Right.
I'm strong, but I'm not this emotional. I am so embarrassed for this kind of tactic, misconduct, and that anybody in the FBI or the Justice Department allowed this to happen. And I said to that reporter this morning, I said, my God, they made me feel sympathy for Roger Stone. We really don't have, that kind of feeling about Roger. He's not warm and fuzzy. But this misconduct is just, it's out of control. And somebody's got to say stop. And, of course, the mainstream media won't. They love it. Oh, well, we're anti-Trump. He was a Trump supporter, so good for him.
Well, let me have you answer your own question here, Victoria. You said you're disappointed in Matt Whittaker, the acting attorney general, and Chris Wray, the FBI director. Both of these guys are handpicked by Trump. So why do you think they allowed this?
I know. Well, you got to know the swamp to drain the swamp. And he didn't notify Comey on the first day, which my husband, Joe DeGeneva, and I were telling everybody we knew at the White House, because at that time we did not know the president. And Chris Wray, I mean, this is a Chris Christie deal. Chris Wray, Joe and I went to Chris Wray when he was an assistant attorney general under the Bush administration, and we gave evidence against a Republican-appointed U.S. attorney. I mean, it doesn't matter to us. If it's corrupt, it's corrupt. We don't care if it's Republican or Democrat. And he refused to do anything. I mean, this was a guy that was threatening people with revealing their sex lives unless they said certain kind of evidence.
Wow.
So, and he refused to do anything. So I already had a handle on Chris Wray being an empty suit.
So where does this go from here?
Bill Barr can't get there soon enough for me. I mean, somebody's got to get in there, and an adult's got to get in there and take over.
What do you expect him to do once he's there, assuming he gets there?
Well, I assume that he will. He knows the department, and he will take charge, and all that entails. As he said to Chairman Lindsey Graham when Lindsey said, "I want you to look into these various things about the FBI and the FISA," and he said, "Yes, Mr. Chairman."
Another interesting point today, Victoria, was Roger Stone saying he's not going to testify against the president, and he says the reason he's not going to do that is because to testify against the president would be to not tell the truth.
You also said that. Joe Corsi has said that. He says they're telling me to say X, and if I say X, it'll all go away. And this was I'm going to say a name that's long back in history. Do you know Elliot Abrams?
Sure.
Iran-Contra?
Absolutely.
They created a crime. Lawrence Walsh created a crime, a new crime. He got indicted for failing to tell Congress about something that he had been told before he testified it was a secret. And 10 days later, he finally got permission that he could reveal it, and he got indicted for that because they were trying to get Vice President Bush then. They kept wanting him or George Shultz. This is independent counsel, special counsels have got to stop. And I would hope one of the first things that Bill Barr does is rewrite the regulations for the special counsel, because it's rather obtuse because people didn't really think that someone would violate it like Rod Rosenstein did. But it is when the Attorney General deems that there is a crime, he may appoint a special counsel, basically that kind of language. And it didn't say, and if there isn't a crime, you cannot appoint a special counsel. And that's got to be put in there.
Victoria, any other thoughts on the allegation that Stone was working with the Trump campaign and trying to figure out what WikiLeaks had on Hillary?
That. What do you mean like Hillary wanted to get bad information on Donald Trump and hired GPS? Do you mean like that? I thought I recognized that. Yes. Well, of course, if Hillary does it, it's okay.
We'll see what happens next. Victoria, a lot of different tentacles to this, of course. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for your time today.
Okay, bye.
Victoria Toensing, former federal prosecutor, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General of the United States. I'm Greg Columbus reporting for Radio America.